Aloha! It's 365 Hawaii with
Julie and Eric Zemelis, and today we're talking about scary pest stories in Hawaii.
for Halloween. That's
Right.
kind of what this is about.
Right,
That's
because
why
it's,
we're looking silly with the old pumpkins and crazy ass things behind us.
There
We're
you
not
go.
being dorky, just a little bit. You got to be a little bit dorky sometimes.
Well, because it's Halloween.
I
You
know,
it's
I know.
seasonal.
But-
It's a
but-
seasonal content
But
experience.
I will say, the stories we have are pretty cool. This is why we're doing this.
Right. You know what? There's a variety of people who move here and are shocked, literally shocked, at the fact that we have insects and strange pests that are in tropical jungles that they're just not going to be used to probably sometimes ever.
But wait, so let's start with the good side about this.
Okay.
The good side is, unlike Australia where everything can kill you,
And Okinawa, as we learned too.
it has quite a few of those as well. We don't have very many things that can kill you here. I can't think of, well, I mean, you can get bit by a shark, but that's a whole different thing. That's not
That's
scary.
not a pest you're
So
going to
that's
find in your
yeah.
house.
These are pest stories, things you'd find on land. So that's what we're talking about.
Yes. Things that might get into your house or your car.
They just might be uncomfortable.
Yes, and they might make you scream.
All right, so where do you want to start, Julie?
Okay, so the first screaming story that Eric and I encountered actually happened to us, in 2005 when we first moved here. And again, we did not know the kind of insects that live in tropical jungles and islands. So within the first few weeks of us moving here, we got the initiation to die for.
Can I start it? At least
Yes.
you can jump in.
Go.
So what happened was our condo had never been sprayed for pest control. First of all, spraying for pest control really does make a difference in condo land. But the person that was there before refused it the entire time, and many of the screens were broken in our condo as well, and it had very poor lighting. So he just didn't light it up very much at night. So being the good craftsman that I am, I replaced all the ceiling fans with bright lights, and the first night we lit the place up, and it was great. We could see better than we could ever see before. And then all of a sudden they started coming in. And
When you say they, what do you mean?
why we're talking about, which cockroach are we talking about, Julie?
We're talking the B-52 3-inch cockroaches.
They're about this big and they fly and they run. And these guys were so...
And they refuse to die.
They're so big they couldn't run under the refrigerator because they kept getting stuck trying to run under the refrigerator. That's how big they were.
Yeah.
So
the kids and I were watching TV, and all of a sudden we see one, and literally it flew and hit one of the kids, maybe me in the head, and that was like all funny. Funny at first, and screamy, kind of funny, and then it got worse.
we continued on. That night we killed 8 cockroaches, and
were all
one after the
flying.
other. It wasn't just all of a sudden they came out at the same time, one by one, and they were stuck wherever they were, and the lights got them going, and then they just they're trying to get out. It was crazy.
We were like batting them out of the freaking sky.
Yeah, we resorted to brooms. Is what
Yeah,
we
we
had
were
to do.
trying to like knock them down, and then Eric had the great idea to get the handheld vac out.
Yeah, it was really popular. Held back. I sucked them all up, and they were in
Alive.
there alive because they couldn't get out. So I wasn't worried about this. So I got them in there, and the next morning it smelled to high heaven. I will say this: there's a very distinct smell to a dead, maybe even a living cockroach. I don't even know if it's dead, but they smell horrible. You're like, oh my god. So anyway,
So that was the trial by fire of Pests in Paradise. That
got us going. And then second cockroach story, just because they're just so good on top of that. So our second cockroach story was Julie's mother-in-law rented a car, right? And she said, can you go move the car? It's like 8 o'clock. We were in some, a parking place that we needed to move it. And so I went out there and I turned on the light and there was no more. There's different types of cockroaches, everybody. There's the big flying B-52 cockroaches, and then there's the little tiny German ones that are really...
Those are the ones that get in your house. You'll have an infestation.
Yeah, that's where you see all the infestations on the mainland. And we don't have as many of those here. But there must have been, at least 200 cockroaches in the bottom of this car. And I turned on the light and it was like, oh my God, it was scrambling. They were just all scrambling trying to get out. So in the old days, it was quite common with rental cars, is that people would leave their car doors open, food in the car, and the cockroaches would just come in and they would just find that a perfect incubation period. And then you wouldn't notice when you're driving down the day because they were all tucked away.
They hide under the floor mats.
Seats and the floor mats, all those kind of things. But oh my gosh, that was crazy to see all those things. I wish I could have got a picture of that to show you guys.
No, because you scream too. You'd be like this. Oh my God, this is what happens.
Is this what
rental
happens
cars
when
in
they're
Hawaii?
on top of that? Yes, on top of that.
Yeah.
So
we turned the car back in and got a different car.
Yeah, and then what's happened with people we know? Just if you ever have this problem, you bomb the car, and
Oh, that's true. If this happens to your personal car,
Yeah.
That's right. You put
the bomb,
a bug bomb.
bug bomb, and let it sit there for a day. That'll kill them. It's just then you got all those dead cockroaches.
Don't leave food in your car.
And it's gross. It is. The whole thing is kind of gross.
Right.
But moving on. Okay.
Okay, so you know what? Another thing we didn't know about when we first moved here, there's these things here called cane spiders, and I have a bona fide case of arachnophobia.
Okay, so okay. Yes. The good news I'll say about cane spiders is that they are non-venomous and they don't bite, and they're very much afraid of you. The downfall is I've heard them getting up to almost 6 inches, right? Would be kind of a good idea how big these things get.
So, I mean, you guys, if you don't like spiders, can you imagine? I mean, literally, I saw one that was this big.
And they look like they have the look of the real gross spiders with they look like bony legs. You know what I mean? They look kind of like a skinny tarantula that's gray.
They look like they have the voice of Vincent Price.
Here's a picture. We got pictures of. So
yeah, we'll throw this out so you guys can actually see these things.
Yeah, but they're incredibly fast. That's the thing about these cane spiders. And
and if you ever seen the movie Arachnophobia, you knew these things were CGI because the way they moved, they're so fast. This isn't CGI.
Okay, so I've got the spider story. So Julie and I visited a friend of hers in Maui, and this woman says, "I've got cane spiders, and you have to kill one if I see one." And I'm like, I really don't want to kill them. They're not that bad.
You know what? They're not.
I would not normally kill a Spain spider because they do a lot of good. So I was like, okay. I figure we would never find one. It's great. And the next thing you know, like it was about 7 o'clock at night, and I hear screaming, and it's here in the bathroom. And there he was. He was about that big, running around the place. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I guess in that part where they were at, there was a lot of cane spiders. Yeah. So I literally, what did I think I got the, was it a broom or a shoe or something? Man, I whacked that sucker, and I felt incredibly guilty about that one.
I know,
because I don't have a fear of spiders.
Actually eat cockroaches.
Yeah.
And some of the things that you really don't want in your house. And they're just trying to live.
They're just having a good time. Life's good. We had one that was on the top of the wall, and I bumped
in our condo.
In our condo, and I bumped you. I'm like, look at that. And then he ran away, and he had to get through this really skinny place, and he like moved his legs. How would you describe what happened?
Okay, so you guys, when we lived down in Keoho Resort, and I heard about the cane spiders, we did not see one for like 6 years. And then Eric's like, oh my gosh, just went up in the rafters. And all I saw, you guys, seriously, in the rafters, was this like,
yeah, he kind of tucks his legs
Four little fingers
out.
just kind of pulling their hands in. I mean, it was something out of a horror movie of insect hell. And I'm like, oh my God, it's in the house with us. What are you going to do? And Eric's like this. It's 14 feet in the air. There's nothing we can do. And I didn't see that one again. But right before we moved out, one was on the floor and running around. And that's when I'm like, oh my God, what fresh hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah, they're quite a thing. So if you guys see the cane spider, give them a little high for us and realize that they're not that bad. Everything's cool, and they're not going to eat your firstborn or anything like that.
Yeah, even though they might be able to pick it up and take it away because they're so damn big.
They are big on top of that.
Yeah.
That's everything in Hawaii tends to be big because we get so much. Everything grows well here on top of that.
Yeah, and if the cane spiders are eating 2.5-inch cockroaches, well, you know.
Yeah, it's doing enough.
It's like Wheaties, you know.
Yeah, I got one. Before we move on to the next one, I got to go back to the cockroaches. I have gotten pretty good that I've realized that the big cockroaches, I can literally now grab them with my hand, and I don't like when they run around the inside of my hand. It feels weird, so I shake them so they can't do anything, and then I go to the door and out they go. Is what happens. So.
Eric can do this now with no problem. Okay, so when you live here long enough, you just start to deal with all of this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you just have to do it.
And then literally...
The first time I'm like, oh, you can't touch one of those things. And then I start touching them by the little
they
antenna.
Have huge antennas,
Their antennas are almost as long as the cockroach is on top of that.
I
was able to grab one like that way, and then
and
sometimes...
he shakes it.
But now I just grab and shake them.
And dice. And he's like this, and he throws it out.
And sometimes they know I'm coming, so they're like, ah! So they fly and they run and they try to get into places. It's a regular little thing. Anyways, that's spiders. Okay,
yeah.
So now...
But you know, I'll tell you, if you move here, or even if you come visit, you're probably going to see a cockroach because they run around on the asphalt at night.
Kind of guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah, so just, obviously there's a level of humor you have to take with a cockroach.
Yes. All right, so let's move on to my favorite one is centipedes. And these are blue centipedes and regular centipedes. And I've seen them
There's nothing funny about
them
these.
up to about 10 inches is how big I've seen them. And they're about that wide at the top of that.
Yeah.
And they tend to be outside. They tend not to come inside too much. Okay, once in a while, but it's not like
they come in your house sometimes, yes.
They are primarily outdoor dwellers because there's probably not enough food in your house to help support them because they're that big.
But the reason we're talking about them is because we see them in our house enough times that we had to talk about them. And I asked my people over on 360. Oopsie, there goes our ghost. Our 365 people, the one thing that they can get really kind of, about is centipedes.
Yeah, because they walk, they got that little walk where they kind of walk one foot after the other and they keep in line.
They get up in their beds.
Yeah, okay, so I'll give you a little history, well, a little bit of tidbits on they like nice warm places, particularly with cockroaches. So they go into your shoes. Not cockroaches, centipedes. They go into your shoes, they go into between your sheets. Okay, so I got a centipede story because we're talking Google stories. So I was managing a condo association, and there was a family that had never been to Hawaii. Hawaii before, and they came and they were having some trouble. It was too hot. It was getting used to, they had some trouble just getting in, and they had some, the place wasn't clean enough, so they were not happy with what their life in Hawaii. Well, the grandfather was with him, and he went to sleep. And the centipede was in his bed when this happened, and he slept naked. And they went to his genitalia, and they bit him on his genitalia, and oh my gosh, he had to go to the hospital, and it was horrible. Nobody died during this, and with cockroaches, it is not like they centipedes. It's not like there's going to be a problem. But oh my God, to hear that story.
No, it's very painful to get bitten by a centipede.
Yeah, it is definitely. But he was able to survive. But oh man, talking about a painful place to be.
That would be
bitten
a
on
very,
top of
very painful place.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of my friends, her name's Lynn, she said that one got into the bed with her and then bit her on the foot, and she kicked it. And then she was like in so much pain because the damn thing bit her. She stepped down on the floor and she stepped on top of it and it bit her again.
Yeah. So one of the common problems that everybody does is, the centipedes, it's good distance in length. So you're going to step on it with your slippers. And then all of a sudden you step on the wrong side, and then it comes back and gets you hard. So you don't know exactly which side you're supposed to step on to make it happen. So
don't step on a cockroach. Don't step on centipedes.
Oh, we forgot the tongs.
Okay, we'll have to bring the tongs into play here, guys.
Okay, the magic of video. Here we are. Tongs.
Okay, so for the really bad stuff that happens to you, these barbecue tongs are it.
They got a little grip on them, so nobody's slipping away.
And also, the further away that you can get from the pest is the key element. So these are good for rats.
Rats,
and
centipedes, cockroaches. You got to be quick with cockroaches.
Oh, you got to get the cockroaches. But you know what though? Specifically, centipedes.
Yeah,
because if you catch them and you grab them and they
anywhere.
can't touch you, what we do is literally we go outside and we huck them out of the house.
We have a big field behind our house, and so literally just once you get past the door, about 10 feet after that, it's all field. So
or you can take them and just cook. And just kill them.
Yeah, on top of that.
But you know what, though? And again, I would go back to, don't do that to the geckos. That's not nice.
Yeah. Well, the geckos are not included in this.
Some
story.
people hate geckos.
I understand some people like geckos, but
geckos sometimes scare the heck out of people.
And there's the geckos, and then there's the Hawaiian lizards, and the Hawaiian lizards are even better than the geckos. But that's another story.
But they don't hurt you.
They're all good. Okay. Do you have any stories that you want to share with us?
So get this, you guys, because you guys know I have my Kona Yubi's blog. So I asked them. I say, hey, what is your Pests in Paradise stories? And some of them included some photos and some videos. Let's see if Eric can stick some of these things in there. But I will say one thing we didn't mention. There are scorpions sometimes. Yeah. Some people visit scorpions. I've never seen them.
I've seen 2 or 3, and they're always in a wood pile or something like that. I haven't seen them around very often. And I hear that they have a much more mild sting than they do in other places.
I've never heard of someone being stung by a scorpion.
Yeah. I mean, and even, again, all these things, even with the centipedes, it is a good sting. It's worse than a bee sting, but it will not, unless you've got some allergic reaction, will send you over the edge.
I'll tell you what sucks. Fire ants.
Oh,
those little rat bastards. They will friggin'. It's not just one. They bring their little buddies with them, and then they usually get stung more than once.
Okay, so let's talk about fire ants.
Let's talk about fire ants.
Because we actually have fire ants on our property, and I've been stung in the same place several times, and it's irritating as. It just pisses me off, and you don't know they're coming because they're kind of small, and they're
kind of small. They're like freaking
little red ants, and then you get bit, and it literally is like a bee sting. And for me, it swells up just like a bee sting. And it takes an entire week for these swells to go down on top of that.
They swell up and they fill with pus.
Yeah,
and they're very painful. We've learned that Benadryl. As soon as you think that you've been stung by fire ants, Benadryl.
Yeah, and I hear there's less on this side of the island than there was Hilo side.
But we've been stung at least 4 times.
Yeah, you're right. We have in different places.
I was running down the street and one fell out of the tree and got me right in the chest, and I'm like down on the knees. It literally brought me to my knees. It hurt so bad.
Yeah.
We're not trying to dissuade you from moving here or vacationing here.
Just watch out for those damn fire ants.
And it's Halloween. We're just trying to be scary.
The trick about fire ants, it takes a whole year to get rid of the hive because you have to continue to.
You have to kill the queen.
Yeah, you have to kill the queen, and that's the hard part. And they're usually deep inside, so it takes a few months to make that happen.
And if you guys want to learn more about how to actually kill all this stuff on our real estate channel, we can give you guys more. But this is basically stuff you're going to deal with when you're in Hawaii.
That's right. Okay, so go on with your stories.
Story.
Yes.
Okay, here. So this was so I put this on the Conan Yubi's group, and people have said this was like the cake on the story. This one
all right.
story.
Okay.
So it's by our friend Louise Ungerman.
Yeah.
So here I'm going to read the story. Ready, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So we came home after Food Truck Friday, hot, tired, ready for showers. Jeremy jumped in the shower first and was in there about 5 minutes when I heard him scream. And she's like this, hee, I know I'm evil. He was in the middle of lathering up his hair when he felt what he thought as a slight breeze move through the shower curtains, causing it to brush against his foot. He didn't think much of it until a few moments later when he felt something run across his foot. This was what caused the scream. I rushed in to see what was going on. He's yelling. There is something in the shower with him, and he's trying to get the soap out of his eyes, and he doesn't have his glasses on, so he can't see. I looked down in the tub, and there sits this timid little field mouse. I busted up laughing. I felt so bad for the little guy. He looked so defeated. He was soaking wet, and he had been skating all around the soapy tub trying to get away from this monster, Jeremy's feet. I grabbed a shoebox and set it down in the tub, and I kid you not, he just walked right in and sat down, content with whatever I might do to him, as it couldn't be worse in this current situation. I took him outside and released him in the bushes. Poor Jeremy finished his shower, and I think he's still scarred to this day. That was a good one. And then, okay, here we go, right?
Yeah.
Kylie, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, this could happen to you. Driving home from work at 11 p.m., I had accidentally left the sunroof vent open all day. When leaving the employee parking lot, out of the corner of my eye, I see something move. So I get on the highway, and all of a sudden, a large cockroach lands on my face.
Ah!
I've never pulled over so fast in my life. I hopped out of the car, then I can't find it. I'm trying to use the flashlight on my phone to find it on the side of the highway with no luck. So I get back in with all the windows down and start heading to my friend's house, about 10 minutes away in Palisades. As I'm heading up the hill, I see it again, level with my visor. I hit it with my hand and I pulled over again. This time I think I hit it out of the car because I never saw it again, and there was a skid mark of where I hit it.
Oh,
The old smush cockroach.
All right. So this is it's not really a scary story, but it definitely affects you. Is that I have been driving several times, and I'm driving along, and we've got the geckos that decide that they climb in the car and they're going to get out, and then they think, oh no, I'm in the car, I'm going to get out, and then so it was on the top of drove to the door, and it falls on me, and there's nothing, like, you don't know what it is,
And they go like this.
Yeah, and they run all over you like,
across.
ah! And then he literally stood on my arm and looked out as the scenery is zooming by, because he was thinking he was going to jump out of the car, but his death was imminent if he did that. But no, he decided, he waited all the way until we parked, and then he jumped out of the car, because they do have a smartness to it. They know that if they just dump out, that's going to be the end of it.
But we've also had poor geckos sitting on the windshield.
Yeah, that's the
and
worst
they're like
one.
this at 40 miles an hour.
They're like, they totally shake it, and then you're like, oh, I wonder what happened to him. Anyway.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of tongs,
Yeah.
this is a good tong story.
Yeah.
I have had to use my kitchen tongs quite a bit in the house. I was brushing my teeth, and while I was looking down into the sink, a centipede crawled out of the drain.
Oh.
I got the handy tongs and sent him flying into the yard. The same tongs I use for stunning large cockroaches and sending them out into the house, too. Who wants to deal with smushing insects into the ground and having to clean that up?
No, I agree.
Right.
So just to let everybody know, smushing a cockroach is...
Against the wall.
Or no, don't do that. It makes a big fat mess. Even on the floor, it makes a big fuss.
I know, even when you smash mosquitoes because they're full of blood against the wall, you gotta clean that shit up.
Yeah, that's where the tongs come in much better.
Okay.
Maybe not the mosquitoes, but at least the cockroaches.
So here's one.
Yep.
Bonnie says,
Yeah.
I use a CPAP. I guess that's the...
Yep, that's the thing that makes help you breathe. It gives you oxygen. Yep.
And a centipede must have crawled along the hose, then along the back on the headgear that holds the mask. At some point in the crawl, he fell into my ear while I was asleep. Thank goodness I wear earplugs. My husband snores who can wake the dead. I grabbed it out of my ear and launched and threw it as fast as I could. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. These are some of the scary stories about pests in paradise.
Yep, we've had our show. We've even had our few of rats ones too on top of it.
Yes, we've had the rats in the barbecue. Don't leave your barbecue trimmings out in front of your house and your barbecue.
Stuck in there. There's two rats munching away that are now stuck inside because you've sealed the only hole they got out of the barbecue, and it makes it rather difficult for them.
There you go.
But wow.
Well, we'll get this. So we hope that you have a very good Halloween,
and we hope you have some good stories. And on top of that,
and drop your stories in the comments.
Yeah, if you want to drop one, go ahead. We'd love to read it. We're going to continue on this theme because it's definitely
everybody's got a story about a pet in paradise.
It's kind of like everybody has kids, everybody gets married, and everybody.
Somebody's got a cockroach or a centipede or a rat or a gecko or
and they're just bigger in Hawaii. Everything is bigger and more exciting. You know what I mean?
cane spiders.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never really knew what cockroaches were until I came to Hawaii. I mean,
I didn't know what a cane spider was until I came to Hawaii.
Yeah, definitely on top of that. All right. So with that.
Okay, wait. Before we say that, get this.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do, though, is help people buy homes here in Hawaii. And we do tell people that, hey, pests are part of the experience. So I also have a book, The Insider's Guide to Buying Real Estate on the Big Island of Hawaii, and it has a whole chapter on pests. So you can learn more. And also, we do have the name of a variety of different pest control companies.
Is that funny? Yeah, we've got super high tech is what we've got.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because we've dealt with them all before,
Right.
many different situations.
So if you need some help, let us know. We'll help you get connected to the right people.
Okay,
And
so with that, we'll say
aloha.